What's going on, guys? And we are back at the Dueling Network. My name is Corey. I'm your host for the channel. And let's go ahead and overlay into my network. This is my first tier list I'm going to be doing for the February 2026 format. And without any further ado, guys, let's just go ahead and get right into it. So starting off the series of decks that I have here, I have quite a few decks that I think a lot of players have been playing this upcoming format competitively. And right off the bat, we're starting off with something pretty interesting, and that is Archmage. I think Archmage is just a C tier deck for me. I don't really think that this deck is anything groundbreaking quite yet. It is still missing some support. So I think C tier is just perfect for Archmage. I do think that it has potential, clearly. It's got all the potential in the world to kind of grow. But I do think that there are some things about it that are definitely lacking in what direction it's going to go. And I think that right now, currently in the state of this deck, that there is some things about it that just are missing. This is another Medius the Pure kind of deck, kind of like how Fallen Valbaz has a bunch of different decks that it intertwines with. Nevertheless, like this deck right here, personally, in my opinion, is just not quite there yet. Crystron, I think, is an A tier deck. This deck is really, really strong. I think in the right hands, especially with like the K9 engine, this deck can really, really thrive. Crystron is a broken synchro archetype, and the fact that you can just like do synchro summon on both players' turns is pretty disgusting. So that in and of itself is really, really, really gross in my opinion. But it's not. It does lack its certain matchups. I do think it has a strong matchup going into a lot of the Vanquished Soul matchups and even branded, anything branded as well. Crystron's is overall just a solid strategy right now, in my opinion. Dark Lords with its new support is strong, but it's not quite strong enough. I think it's slightly better than Archmage, but it's just the support is just okay. It's not fantastic. I don't think Dark Lord is overwhelmingly groundbreaking, but I do think that there is some potential with it, but currently I don't think it's personally I don't think it's like that overwhelming of a deck right now. DDDs in the right hands, this deck is disgusting. I think this deck is really, really strong right now. I love this deck. Personally, I don't have all the cards to it. I do enjoy like playing it on Yugioh Pro. That's where I play most of my games. I do play on Master Duel, but when I'm playtesting, I usually play on Yugioh Pro. And I've been playtesting DDDs a lot. It's a lot, man. Like you got to know how to play this deck. Like it is not an easy deck. This is a deck that like found out like a lot of beginners have come to me and they've like, oh, I want to play this DDD deck. It's pretty cool. I'm like, yo, no, that's the worst deck you could possibly choose in terms of trying to like start out. Like, no, you do not want to do that to yourself. So I give them something like more like Vanquished Soul, or not Vanquished Soul, Sword Soul instead. So that deck, stay away from that, beginners. All right, Dynamorphia. The Dynamorphia deck is on here because I love Dynamorphia, but it's not anything higher than a C tier. And the reason why it's not anything higher than a C tier is because I don't think it's quite D tier, because there's a lot of D tier decks that I think in this format it can actually outplay, but it's a trap-based deck, and with Radiant Typhoon running around, which is an S tier deck, Dynamorphia is just not going to do anything really against that deck. I do think it has some potential to grow with some support, and there are some strategies where you can splash in Yugioh or the new GMX stuff that's coming out, or that it has come out, but it's not anything that I would consider meta-defining, whereas Radiant Typhoon is a very, very strong card. Now, Radiant Typhoon has been seen as a pure strategy. It's also been splashed into a wide variety of engines. I've seen it splashed into K9. I've seen it splashed into Branded. I actually saw some people splashing in some pretty interesting things with like invoked branded Radiant Typhoon, which is, I don't know how that quite functions, but that is an interesting take on the deck. But Radiant Typhoon belongs in the S tier. Doom Z, as much as I want this deck to be good, it's not. I do think it's better than Dark Lord and Archmage. I think it's definitely a C tier deck right now. But this deck right here is a solid investment right now. This is what's going to, I think Doom Z is what's going to be making Medius the Pure like really, really bolster in price. And don't be surprised after Blazing Dominion, when that comes out, the new support that it gets, it's going to end up in the S tier. But for right now, I think Doom Z is C tier. Doomsday is a very complex deck, a complex strategy. It has interactions with destruction effects of its cards and also equip spells. So it's a very convoluted strategy. Some people think that it could actually thrive in some more equip spell strategies. I've seen some people experimenting with Infernobles in this deck, but I just don't see how that's going to even quite work. I feel like Doomsday is one of those cards where it's very in archetype based. It's not really a splashable thing. The only thing you can really splash in it right now is obviously Horus, but and obviously Metis Pure because it's part of the archetype technically. But that's about it. Elf Note is a good deck, but it's B tier. I think it's better than DDD, but it's still missing one more card for it to be like top notch tier. So Elf Note is a synchro based strategy. I do think that it's going to be coming. I think it's going to be getting a lot of power increase with the new with its new support that's going to be getting soon. But also, I think that utilizing cards like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon is definitely something that this deck is going to be utilizing a lot. And don't be surprised if Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon is going to be seeing more play with more and more synchro strategies coming out. Now we also have the Anycraft from this is an okay this deck. This deck has potential. I don't know if it's quite B tier yet, but it is annoying to deal with. I'm going to put it in C tier, a high C tier. I'll definitely put it in front of these cards right here, or these decks right here. I do think that Anycraft does actually have some potential, and there is some flip support that actually came out in Burst Protocol that I think is very good to like with some of the wake up cards. I think the wake up cards with Burst Protocol actually do enhance Anycraft, and there are more wake up cards that are coming out, which is for pure flip support. And with Anycraft running around, and there's also Mimigools that are running around, I do think that Anycraft actually is the better deck when it comes to that. Mimighoul is a very convoluted strategy. I don't know if it's quite there yet, but Anycraft is a very, very strong deck, I think, right now. But as far as a meta concern is I just don't think that it's quite there yet. I do think that as more support comes out, it's going to be coming out. It's almost like if there was like they decided how can we make Cleaforts flip, But I think from an art standpoint, but it's not quite Cleaforts. I don't know if it's more of a control strategy than anything, where Cleaforts are more of an OTK strategy. Next, we have Exo Sister, A tier. I think this is actually better than Crystron. The new Exo Sister support is a lot better than people give it credit for. And I actually seen some strategies where they're splashing in K9. Pretty interesting to see. But I feel like the Exo Sister archetype as a whole is already good enough without the K9 splash in. So I think Exo Sister is quite fine here. Next, we have Fire King. I think Fire King's a B tier deck. I think it's better than DDEs. And if you splash in some of the new Tri-Brigade stuff, the Tri-Brigade Springen's kit, and then even just Tri-Brigades in general, I found it's a very potent strategy. Fire King Tri-Brigade, don't sleep on it. It's got a lot of potential, and I do think that it can steal some games if it's played with a solid pilot. So I highly recommend Fire King Tri-Brigade. Fire King Jurek, I don't think is that good. I think it's just okay. I think that would be more of a C tier deck, but I do think Fire King Tri-Brigade is a very potent strategy to utilize. Next up, we have For Hire's A tier deck. For Hire K9 is a strong strategy, I think. I think it's got a lot of potential to even steal some games from the meta S tier decks. I think moving forward, For Hire is going to be one of those decks that a lot of players are going to be testing out different strategies with. But I think for the most part right now, the For Hire K9 strategy is the way to go with the new support from Burst Protocol. Gem Knights, I think, is a little bit better than DDs. I don't think it's quite as good as Fire King. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, it actually is better than Fire King. There's an argument to me that it's actually better than Elf Note, maybe. I don't know, you guys. I'm gonna put this ahead of Elf Note, to be honest with you. You guys tell me if I'm crazy, but I do think I've seen some pretty good Gem Knight players just destroy people and wipe the floor with people. It's a very solid strategy. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Gem Knight. So I'm going to leave it in top of BA right now. Obviously, GMX, not quite there yet. It's a very good strategy. Like, there's some cards in GMX that are really, really strong. And Yassine665 is really, really big on this. He was mentioning that these are really good cards. It's just not quite there yet, and it does need more support in order for it to be a more potent deck. Next up, we obviously have Draco Tail. I think Draco Tail is way better than well, not way better, but I think it's better than Radiant Typhoon. But there's a wide variety of ways you could play Draco Tail. Obviously, branded is up there. Playing it pure branded, or are you playing Draco Tail branded? Either way, very, very strong. We might as well just get this out of the way. Vanquish Soul is up here as well as an S tier deck. I do think in some situations Vanquish Soul is better than Radiant Typhoon, because Vanquish Soul does not have a lot of back row anyway. So it's a solid strategy, I think. And you know what? Vanquish Soul doesn't even utilize the extra deck that much either. So it's just really annoying to deal with Vanquish Soul, to be honest with you. It's a very strong strategy. And I think that in the long run, a lot of people are going to find that Vanquish Soul is going to be climbing more and more. Next one, we have Labyrinth. I think it's the better of the trap decks. It's better than Dynamorphia. No, actually, I don't know. Just Labyrinth is just not good right now. It's just not. I think Labyrinth is just lacking in so many different areas. It's crazy how much the meta has shifted, because just a year ago, Labyrinth was one of the best decks it was one of the best decks to play. And now it's like not even like considered, because it's just not. It's just, there's certain things about it that's just not good. Blue Eyes. I think Blue Eyes is somewhere around here. Blue Eyes Primite. I think Blue Eyes Primite is actually better than all these decks, honestly, if we're being completely honest. Maybe even Dark Lord was probably better than Enacraft, and maybe Art Mage is even better than Enacraft. I might be coping on that. And you could probably even make the argument that Enacraft is like probably belongs in D tier, for all we know. But I think Blue Eyes Primite is a very strong strategy. Even Blue Eyes, even just having Blue Eyes like Buster Blader is really strong as well. So definitely a solid choice in my opinion if you're going to be playing if you're a good pilot. But there are some decks I think that are just a little bit better than Blue Eyes. I think DDDs in the right hands is way better than Blue Eyes, and it just kind of shuts it down. Blue Eyes still needs it needs more support, needs more of its upcoming support in order for it to be successful. Lunalight, I think Lunalight's an A tier deck. It's very strong. In the right hands of those diehard Lunalight fans, it's going to do some damage. So I think Lunalight is it can OTK you, it can stun you, it can do a lot of different things. Chimera just topped, won the whole regional. So this is not S tier quite yet. I got to see a little bit more performance, but this deck is really, really gross. Just looking at some of the deck lists that were on some of the regionals in the United States, I saw that Chimera deck, and it was pretty solid. I saw it in action. I was like, wow, this deck is actually really strong. But it doesn't have quite the representation that these four decks have. But I do think that with that exposure, it's definitely going to climb. Magnet Warrior A tier. The new support that's coming out, I think, is really, really strong for it. Maybe it's not A tier yet. Maybe it's just B tier. It might just be B tier, but there is some solid support coming out for it. I do think that this is a decent choice. I would consider your S tier are your decks to beat. A tier are good counters. B tier are rogue, and C tier are just like I wouldn't bring these to like a regional, but they're not that they're bad decks. They're just like not really good right now. Memento, I think Memento is still a strong strategy. I don't think it's as good as I think it's better than Lunalight, but I don't think it's as good as For Hire or Crystron, Exorcister, or Chimera. But I think in the right hands it could do some damage. I do think that Mermails is really good, and Odeon is really good. Orcust, definitely up there in the A tier. I think Orcust is actually climbing the ladder really, really well. It's got so much potential to thrive. I think Orcust is just one of those decks that just won't die. Kind of reminiscent of like the old Burning Abyss strategy that was existing in the Duelist Alliance era. It just wouldn't die, just would not go away. It's such an obnoxious deck to deal with. Mermails can go TK you out of nowhere, hand loop you as well, because it's got the the element that a big element saber, whatever it is. It's just the hand looping is so annoying. I really do not like when it hand loops. I think that card should actually be banned. It's not an element saber. It's like one of the card archetypes that synergizes with element saber. But you guys know what I'm talking about. If you know it, just let me know in the comments below. Odeon, really annoying to deal with. Trap base. I think this is probably the best trap base deck. We're just gonna go ahead and let you guys know. Trap Tricks is just okay. It's not great. Actually, there was a Trap Tricks that made, I think, top 8. So, it does. Yeah, I forgot about that. So maybe there is an argument to me that it could actually thrive in B tier. So, you never know. But Odeon, as far as a trap strategy is concerned, I think Odeon is one of the best options you can choose. Trap Tricks, on the other hand, is something that is pilot dependent. So you can't really count on this being a top tier deck unless you are super engrossed in understanding the ins and outs of Trap Tricks and its matchups against all these other decks that you could possibly run into. Rescue Ace, yeah, right. I think it's better than that just because I have more support, but yeah, no, this is crazy. Now, all right, guys, just hear me out. Ritual Beast. Okay, just hear me out before you guys call me crazy. Okay, Ritual Beast is a banish based deck, right? Banish based. It dodges targeting like crazy, right? It dodges targeting like crazy. It can't. There's so many things that it just like you. For instance, your Canahawk can chain block itself, right? Because you go Canahawk, banish to search, maintain priority, and then tag out on the search, and now you can't get ashed because it's chain link 1, chain link 2. It's pretty intense. It's crazy what I think this deck can do. Now it lost the ability to utilize Protoss, obviously. It did lose that, but I think that for the most part, it's a solid strategy. It can play board breakers, and it also has a board breaking floodgate system in the form of Dimensional Seizure and Macrocosmos, and it can play Dimension Shifter. So this deck, it has potential, and while I'm at it, Voiceless Voice has potential. These two decks right here are I think they're better than Trap Tricks. I think they're better than DDD. I think that's solid, right? I think Voiceless Voice and Ritual Beast are better than both them, and they're better than. I think both these decks are better than all these, in my opinion. I played a Blue Eyes Primite deck multiple times with Voiceless Voice, and it just destroys it. I played Ritual Beast multiple times against Primite Blue Eyes, and it just destroys it. I've played against all these other decks. That's why I have them on this list. I played against these because Ritual Beast and Voiceless Voice are two of my favorite decks. That's kind of why I put them on here. But I only put them on here mainly because I do think they have potential. And I think that they can actually steal some games. So that's kind of why they're on here. But Voiceless Voice, once the engine gets going, it's hard to stop. And then Ritual Beast, same thing. And then the fact that you can play the Banishing Floodgates is also insane and just hurts your opponent so much. Rockets, stop. Just stop, guys. It's not that good right now. They're just okay. They're better than GMX. I think GMX is actually one of the worst decks on this list. Just because it's still missing some support, but it will climb. Don't worry. But Rockets are just okay. I think there's just so much. They're just lacking. I feel like they're just lacking something. I don't know what it is, but the support that they just got, it was just not it. Ryziel beats here, hands down. It's really strong. I think Sky Striker is still pretty strong, in my opinion. I think the right Sky Striker player is going to make things happen. Just overall, I think Sky Striker is strong. Ryziel, again, solid choice. It is obviously nerfed, but when you can find that you can splash this into some other engines, and it does pretty well for itself. And I think Ryziel actually is a really solid option. I actually saw someone put together a unique Necros Ryziel deck for a local tournament, and they ended up winning the whole locals with it. So it's something that I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't test it out, but I'm actually curious to see it. Yummy, I think this is B tier. It actually is probably better than these guys. It's probably better than like all these. I think Yummy is still a solid deck. I think Yummy is really good. I don't think any of these decks are D tier. If I had to put anything in D tier, yeah, it'd probably be actually this stuff right here. I think these guys are D tier. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a solid list, guys. Now, again, full disclosure, before we go crazy in the comments, this is my opinion and just basically on what I've seen and what I noticed about some of the things in the format. I do think that this list obviously is subject to change. And if you guys have any recommendations on what I should change in this list, feel free to let me know in a respectful manner, because I'm curious to see your opinion on how to approach this list. It's a very interesting list. It's a very very interesting layout of the decks that are featured in this list, and I do think that some of these decks have potential. I think the biggest shocker here, the two biggest shockers here, in my opinion, Exosister and Chimera. I think Exosister and Chimera are very, very strong decks, and I think a lot of people were sleeping on Exosister, not realizing this deck is really, really strong, especially with its new support. But I think S tier is the meta. A tier, solid choices to counter the meta. B tier, Rogue, C tier, locals, D tier. I don't even know if it's worth it playing at locals. Like, it's just not. Honestly, you could probably even put Labyrinth down there. I actually think Dynamorphia, in my opinion, is better than Labyrinth. I don't think Labyrinth is that good of a deck anymore. There's just so many ways to play around it. Maybe people are calling me crazy. Maybe Dynamorphia is a little bit better or a little bit worse than Labyrinth. I don't know, but I just always felt that I had a better matchup with Dynamorphia in the Labyrinth, in my opinion. I just won a lot of games with Dynamorphia. And even like Dynamorphia Ryuge and Dynamorphia like GMX, it's just like this deck I think is just way better than Labyrinth. That's how I feel. I think the matchup is just better, and I think overall like Labyrinth is just not that good of a deck right now. But yeah, this guys is going to be my tier list video for the February 2026 format. The March 2026 tier list will be coming out obviously next month. If you're interested in seeing a rogue tier list or a budget tier list, you guys let me know down in the comments below. I love doing tier lists. There's so much fun to do and put together and do some research on. And I love doing them. I'm an old school kind of guy, like S, A, B, C, and D tiers. I love that stuff. I always looked at Yu-Gi-Oh as more of a like a MOBA card game. If you would see, like the archetypes kind of serve as like the champions, and like the patches are the ban lists and the new sets that come out with new archetypes being as like almost like new champions. I played League of Legends for years, so that's kind of like where my analogy comes from. And those guys over on Skill Cap they always do S, A, B, C, and D tier champions. So that's kind of like why I like doing the S through D tier lists, in my opinion. But that's just me, guys. That's how I like to run my tier lists. I do think that this is a solid tier list in my opinion. But if there's anything you guys think I should change or take off, please, like I said, feel free to let me know in the comments below. In a respectful manner. Let's keep everything calm, cool, and collect in the comments. No insulting anyone. No need to be condescending or anything like that. It's always better to be constructive and critical, but in a nice way. It's okay to be to criticize in a nice way. Just keep it chill, okay? Don't want to cause any issues in the comments, okay? With that being said, guys, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you get updated on every time I upload a video. I'm going to be uploading another video very soon on a couple different deck profiles that I'm working on. I am definitely going to be working on that Drytron deck that I want to put together. Necroz is coming. I definitely am putting together another deck profile for my Tri-Brigade Fire King. Dynamorphia is coming. I have a really cool Synchron deck that I'm working on as well that I'm excited for. Just a bunch of different decks and strategies that I'm testing out, and even Infernobles. And I think Infernobles is definitely a deck that I'm trying to learn. I never played it before because I was always more of an old school Noble Knight guy. But I do think that there's some potential with Infernobles. So only time will tell. That being said, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this tier list. Like I said, let me know if you guys need me to add anything or take anything out, or what you think I should have switched, what you think I should take out. What's actually absolutely craziness. I am doing another video where I'm going to be comparing Yu-Gi-Oh to other card games in the modern era today, and basically how they match up from an affordability standpoint, a player-based standpoint, an organized play standpoint, just a whole 9 yards. So it's going to be a cool video. I'm definitely excited for it. I'm going to be taking a look at that. That's going to be fun to see. And with that being said, guys, this is Corey, and I'm happy to bring this tier list for you. Let me know if you want more tier lists in the future. That being said, guys, thank you for overlaying the network, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out, guys.